I do this every time I film something, but people don't see those versions. So I've been thinking the last year or so. I've been doing a lot of thinking. Well, I've also been doing a lot of legal things as well. But I've been thinking about how we can hold the police to account better. Because at the moment what we have is civil actions. And civil actions are fantastic, and there's some really fantastic solicitors. But ultimately, as other people have pointed out, it just isn't satisfactory. You get money, you're violently assaulted, you're sexually abused, your human rights are violated by the police, and they just pay you off. I recently said, in a way, I kind of feel like a cheap prostitute just taking the money after such vile actions that have been committed. And so I thought, yeah, whilst we need the civil actions, whilst the civil actions are good, we've got to have something else. And I'm sure many people watching this are actually familiar with private prosecutions because other YouTubers have spoke of them, other activists and so on, or you may just know from your own experience. And whilst several have been done, and by several I mean a small handful, it's a very new area of law. There's only been a handful in the last decade. However, clearly private prosecutions are the answer to not just police corruption, but corruption and misuse of power by other state actors. And the reason I say it has to be private is because if you try and get the police to investigate, if you try to get the IOPC to investigate, nothing will happen. It might not even touch the CPS. The IOPC often refer cases to the CPS and they will not touch them. To illustrate, look at the recent case of the police who were involved in the Stephen Lawrence investigation. The IOPC found misconduct and corruption's their word, but the CPS would not proceed with the case, they wouldn't prosecute. Now, of course, some of you may be thinking, well, the problem with private prosecutions is the CPS can take over those and discontinue them. And trust me, I am aware of that. And I know the other people who have done it, because I've spoke to the others, have also had the same problem. So yes, the CPS still stand to be a problem in private prosecutions. They actually discontinue 50% of cases referred to them, and from my own research, they've discontinued 100% of cases referred to them since the 1985 Prosecution of Offences Act that involve a police officer committing crime in the exercise of a power. But that doesn't mean that they're not worth anything, because here's the problem. Or maybe it's not a problem, it's a positive. If people are to bring them, the CPS can't just keep discontinuing them. Eventually the cases will end up back in the UK Supreme Court, and the law may be overturned where they cannot keep just discontinuing any private prosecution. It also is the case at the moment that there's no lawyers doing private prosecutions for this particular issue. There's no lawyers doing private prosecutions on a pro bono basis. Now, I met a very good barrister a couple of weeks ago called Michael Mansfield, and I met a few other barristers as well. And I was talking to them about private prosecutions. I said, do you think this is necessary? Do you think it's a plausible way of dealing with police abuse of power in the future? And I laid out a plan to him that I have, and he said there's absolutely a need for them, it's a very good idea, and then sort of set out how it could be done and the issues that I may run into. I spoke to another barrister about this, he also agreed. So as far as the plan goes, it is a green light. Now, of course, I'm still learning, I'm still training, and I'm just trying my best. There's so much to learn, obviously, in this profession, and it's cliched, but in life. So this is not a plan immediately, so don't message me asking me to do your private prosecutions, because I can't do them. But obviously you want to have a long-term plan, and look, I've been meeting with organisations, I've been working behind the scenes. Just because I haven't been posting, I've been working, don't worry, but I won't go into that yet. But I just want to, I guess, put this video out there to say, yeah, this is possibly the answer. Of course we have the CPS to get over, but look, if we commit a crime against the police, if we did the things to the police that the police did to the public, if the roles were reversed, we'd be in prison, we'd be convicted like that. Yet this never happens when the police are the ones who abuse the public. There's absolutely a double standard. And the reason that the state is happy for us to have conditional fee agreements, they're happy for civil actions, there's no accountability. You get some money, Sometimes the police don't even have to come to court, and because of the way law firms are set up and conditional fee agreements, usually the only cases that even reach that stage are the ones that settle outside court, so there's usually not even any hearings or a trial. But like I said, it's not good enough, because look, these police are not paying out of their own pockets, they're coming out of the police fund. If a police officer sexually assaults someone, if he uses excessive force during an arrest, if he breaks down their door without the power to do so, if he falsely imprisons someone with malice, why should he not be subject to criminal proceedings in the exact same way we would be? They absolutely should be. And let me tell you something, if they start being held accountable in the criminal courts, the same way that we are, the same way that the general public are, and this isn't just police, this goes for politicians and other state actors, essentially, I'm talking about all of them, watch how quickly their behaviour changes. So whilst there's many issues with it, whilst it's definitely difficult for us and it's in its infancy in terms of a method of accounting or holding the police to account, should I say, it's certainly one that's worth considering, and I honestly think it is the future. Because look, we're never going to be able to rely on the police, we're never going to be able to rely on the IOPC, and we're never going to be able to rely on the CPS, who actively interfere with private prosecutions and refuse to prosecute when they're public prosecutions, to protect the police. What we're effectively doing is asking the state to hold the state accountable. We're asking state actors to protect us from state actors. It's never going to happen. It's up to us, the public, it's up to activists, and it's up to lawyers to step up to the mark and make sure that we actually have justice.